Good morning and welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Pace, your host, and we are going to talk about my favorite, I'm saying that jokingly, favorite agency of social service, the Child Protection Services, CPS. As most of you know that tuned in, because you're involved in CPS and you're looking for help. I wish I had help. I wish there was a resource I could have done. My case would have gone a lot better. Yes, I was tricked and deceived and lied to and got myself into CPS's hands. It's the worst nightmare of my life, and that was 14 years ago. Um, the case that you're probably in is just as awful because you really believe that government agencies are there to help you, the people that we pay our taxes hard earned for, that they're fair and honest. And in my case, I did not find them fair or honest. Every day I learn something new. Every time I research or look at it, something I find out something. CPS is an agency that is uncontrolled, and it's sad because they shouldn't be that way. Good morning, Tess Young. Hi, Bob. I'm trying to do a writ before they take my rights in June. Okay. Yeah, Tess, and I can certainly try to help you there. We just started off my show. I'm glad that you tuned in. What city and state are you from, Tess? And what are your allegations? And also, what children are involved? And are you in a partnership or a marriage? As most of you listen in, there's several ways you can interact with this podcast. One, you can text a message as Tess Young did. And if you do text a message at the comments below, make sure you put your city and state you're from. And if you're from other countries, that's okay because I've had Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and Ghana text me messages. They're having trouble with CPS in other countries. It's a worldwide epidemic because it's really gotten out of hand. And I think the pendulum has swung from one extreme to another extreme. It used to be we had no protection for our children, and that's one of the purposes that CPS is supposed to do. Is they're supposed to protect our children from abuse and neglect. They're also supposed to keep the family intact and strive to make the family the most important unit to be there. That part CPS has sort of forgotten, and their sole goal is to get your child for the sole goal of making money. It's $1 billion business right now, and this is from firsthand experience. I'm in Southern California, and I went through it, so I know firsthand about how CPS operates. I've also been talking to over 100 people here on my podcast. Similar stories, no matter where you're at, whether you're in Australia, whether you're up in Nova Scotia, Canada, or down in Maine, or Pennsylvania, or New York, or Tennessee, or Kentucky, or Florida, or Texas. It's rampant. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of things going on with a lot of people. It's really hard. Okay. So right now, I'm putting a comment from Tess Young. She says that she's been here before. I'm married, accused of drug use and homelessness. You know, being married is not a crime, and being homeless is not a crime. I don't know why people make it it's so bad. Being married is you've taken a commitment. You've taken a commitment to um, build a life together with someone that you love. And then now you're accused of drug use and homelessness. Now, drug use, some people do drugs, and mistakenly, that's a no-no because you have anybody under the age of 18 in your home, you can't do drugs. Just like you can't smoke cigarettes around them and you cannot drink alcohol around them. So that part is sometimes true, sometimes not true. The homeless thing, there's circumstances why people are homeless. I don't think anybody wants to be homeless. I've had that feeling. I had that feeling when I lost my home and I lived in my car for a couple months. It was terrifying. I lived in my car, and my car wasn't a big car. It was a sports car. It was an RX-7, and all my stuff in the back. And I had tried to lay and sleep in my seat, but you never have much sleep. So homeless is not there. It's because circumstances prevent you. Um, CPS is what drove me into homeless. I lost my home. I mean, they made me, I was so hurting for a job, and CPS got involved, uh, unnecessary and false allegations by lay people that were doing nothing more to undermine our children and hurt our wife and hurt me and so forth. So um, having those issues is not wrong. And okay, you've been sober for a year and a half. I've done everything CP asked, and I'm fighting to get my two older children. Okay, okay, and I assume that you no longer have the biological father helping you with your children, right? So okay, so we are trying to help out here, Tess Young. I still don't know where you're from, but if you could tell me your city and state, it would be great. Um, the ways you can interact with the show, because I try to make this interactive. I really like to hear your comments. I really like to see what you have to say and so forth. And so all your thumbs up and hearts are really greatly appreciated. You can also, instead of texting, you can also call in and be a guest on my show live at 626 698 0990. That's my office number, and you can call that number right now. During the showtime, my office phone is on, and I'll gladly uh, take you as a guest to talk about your case. So, okay, I remember you, Tess Young, from Shasta County. That Shasta County is Northern California. Um, I guess that's good or bad. The father's in jail, but I assume the father didn't want anything to do with your two children. And you being a single mom or a divorced mom or whatever your case may be, I'm glad that you want your children, you want to take care of them. And I'm also glad that you've been drug free for a year and a half. So that's really good. Hi there, Jessica G. Hello. What city or state you from, Jessica? So if you want to be speaking about your situation live, call in 626 698 0990. And that's my office phone. I'll answer it, and I can put you live on the show via speaker. Let's say you don't want to talk right now and you want to talk at a later date. We had guests from time to time on the show that have been really helpful, and I've learned a lot from them and so forth, but I want to talk about your case. Well, you can call my other office number, 888-888-6582. Now, when you call that office, um, a reception will answer it. Make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you, that you're there to schedule to be a guest speaker on one of my 14 shows. Now, I'm on 7 days a week, 10 in the morning and 7 o'clock at night for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. And the only exception to that is on Sunday, I'm on a half an hour later because of a prior show that Sunday morning. So it's it'd be really great if you would call in and schedule a time to be on my show, a Wednesday morning or a Thursday evening or a Saturday morning, whatever your case is. Really easy to figure. It's just 14 shows that I do, and I try to make them differently. I also try to uh, help out the people that call in. I'm not an attorney, but that leads me to the sponsor of the show is by Vincent W. Davis and Associates. That's the law firm that sponsors the show. They're in Southern California, and they have many lawyers. They'll help you with all kinds of legal matters. The one that we're talking about in Child Protection Services is the Dependency Court, Juvenile, Minors under 18, Family Court, so forth. That particular courtroom, you really need a judge. I can't emphasize. My number one rule is to get an attorney, and you need that to help navigate and see through it. I wish I had an attorney in the beginning. It was a mistake on my part, and I regret it because I lost my children. Yes, you can call me, Jessica. Um, Jessica from Baldwin Park is going to call in. That number is 626-698-0990. Now, this attorney I'm talking about that has fought CPS, that can get your children back. In fact, he's a professional family lawyer for practicing a long time. He was won cases. He's in fact sued CPS. He's one of the few lawyers in the country that sued CPS and won. And CPS is really scared of him because they are doing some illegal things, and it has to be done there. Well, that second office number, 888-888-6582, call in, say that you want to talk to Mr. Davis. In fact, he's running a 30-minute to 1 hour free consultation. All you have to do is call in. It's free, and it's free legal advice. And he'll talk about the strategies of fighting CPS and getting your kids back. So it's very important that you tell them that Bob Pace sent you, so that you get that free consultation, and also that when you speak to Mr. Davis, you tell him that I sent you, so he knows that you've talked to me. So it's important. It's my rule number one to have an attorney, because the only one. It's just like I say, example, you're in for open heart surgery. Are you going to use a doctor? Of course you are. You're going to use a doctor that is gone through school, medical school, and gone through an internship, and he has been practicing. He has a license. He's certified as a doctor, and so that's what you need to do in this case. I know the number one thing that most people say you can't get an attorney is because you don't have the money, and I realize that. But right now, here's a lawyer, a top lawyer in the country, offering his time. So take advantage of it. That's 888-888-6582. Now, Jessica, you said that you will call in. The number is 626-698-0990. I'm standing by. It's the number in blue on your screen there. 626-698-0990. And I'd love to have you talk about your case. There, that would be really good. Now, you want to get a copy of your warrant, right, Tess? Let me put that up there. They took the kids on a warrant but refused to provide a copy. Well, that's your constitutional right. Anytime you're excused or anything, what you can do is you get it from the clerk's office. And dependency court will have a copy. They keep track of all the records, the clerk's office at the dependency court. Now, I imagine you're in LA County, I think. So you have to go to the LA County dependency court. And if you've not been there, but it's a court that deals with family law and child protection services. By law, they have to give it to you. If you're low income, you can ask for a waiver of the fees, but you need to get a copy of that warrant. I'm really surprised that they don't want to do that to you. They don't want to do that. So all we're waiting for is Jessica to call in. And so she's from Baldwin Park, California, which is in Southern California. And she's in the LA County and so forth. Usually the county courts have the dependency courts. I know in Orange County and LA County, they do the same. I was in Orange County, and I tell you, that place is insane. It really is insane, because I never experienced so much deception, lying, deceit, and they just want to get your children. And one of the reasons they do is they want to feed that building they live in. They have the Taj Mahal of buildings, and it is really disgusting where the money that is taken from children not to be used with children, but to use as given as bonuses to social workers. I'm telling you from experience, these social workers are uh, not well educated or trained, at least the ones I experience. They're very young. Their incentive is just to get the bonuses. So in order to get the bonus, they have to get the children in there. Okay, here's Badger Webb. The warrant, or rather, a copy is included in the detention report in the back. At least they are in LA County. Well, thank you, Badger. I appreciate the info. So, Tess, if you want a copy of your warrant, they can. Um, so, Jessica, are you going to call in? Oh boy, Jessica has a trouble with her ex. He's a sheriff. Let me see what Jessica put in there. He was a sheriff, and I can't believe 8 years of supervised visit. That is unheard of. That's wrong. 8 years is this is stupid. They're just making so much money off your child. It's so bad. And I don't know if you have an attorney or trying to use a public defender, but here's from Badger Webb. I don't know what part of the. I think he's from LA County, and he says that it's included in the detention report in the back. Yes, it is in the detention report. I agree. It's in the back there. That's why if you go to the clerk's office for the detention court, they can provide you a copy. It's public record, and you're entitled to it. So, Jessica, if you want to call in, I'm standing by. The number is 626-698-0990. Let me tell you some more about my social worker. My social worker is very young, very naive, very little experience. She didn't have a certificate, she didn't have a license, she didn't have a college degree. But she knew something about money, and money was what orchestrates a lot of these social workers. And she all the time was bragging about her new Gucci purse, her new eyelashes, her makeup, her BMW car. When I saw her, it wasn't about, hey, I'm going to really help you get you together with your family first. Nothing about that. It's always, every time I saw her, it was something that she was trying to dig up. You know, it's really sad because in my case, they took my children after 5 years of investigating some false claims that were done by my wife's family to alienate the kids and my wife, me and my wife from our kids. Um, my in-laws and the family wanted very much to take our children, and this all happened because I lost my job through no fault of my own. But um, you know, this thing about how CPS. Uh, Let me tell you about how CPS operates in taking children. In most cases, a dependency case comes into court shortly after a child's been removed from the home by the police or social worker. It was like a couple months before um, uh, the dependency court to have. Now, the police or social worker may remove children from their home if they have reason to believe there is an imminent risk of harm to the child. This word imminent risk is so stupid. In my case, it's because I have my parents' belongings, and they thought that the belongings would harm the children. And the belongings were there because my parents had asked me to they were dying, and they asked me to liquidate their assets and give them to family and relatives. And I took them in. I didn't have money for storage, so I took in their 4,000 square foot of furniture and boxes, and it was sorted in my house. That's the only thing they could find to remove my kids that day that they tricked me using a dumb police officer, and thinking with all these people standing in front of my home because there was like three 3 social workers, 2 code enforcement, 5 firemen, 2 uniformed policemen, and a detective sent my house, insisting. I did not know that you can tell them no. They have to have a warrant. This is something I did not know about warrants and about. A lot of us don't. A lot of us are not involved. I'd never been involved in a criminal matter. I'd never been involved in CPS before, and I was. I lost my job at age 60, and I was trying to find work, which is hard to do at that age. And since I lost my job, I started getting these strange things, calls, and social workers stopping by my home, asking to see things, asking this is true or that true. And I said no. And I showed them documentation supporting that this alleges in there. They're supposed to investigate. When they get a complaint, it happens in 24 hours. So they have to investigate it. Problem is, the complaints are considered to be valid, and you are guilty until you're proved innocent. It's the only court of law where you're guilty. All the other courts of law, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. If you're charged with a criminal matter, felony, or whatever it is, misdemeanor, you're guilty. They have to go to court. They have to prove their case. But with CPS, it works just the opposite. The allegations are believed to be factual, and the social worker would do every attempt, in my case and other cases across the country, to take the children so they can start collecting money every monthly on the children until they're 18. I mean, that's the whole goal, is to get them adopted through foster care. Foster care is important, but it isn't like adoption. When you adopt a child, you have to go through a literally lengthy process. Sometimes it's as much as 10 years. But in foster care, they can adopt children a snap of the fingers. Because why? CPS, schools the foster care parents and makes them eligible. They have a real scam going on right now because foster care is good. I'm not against foster care, but I'm against people that use other people for their own interests. CPS is a user out there. CPS is a horrible, horrible agency. And I can say that factually. I've gone to the top dog in Orange County. I went to their managers. I had meetings. It went in one ear, out the other. I tried to fight them for a year and a half without an attorney to get my 3 kids that were illegally taken. They weren't in imminent danger. There was not imminent danger. There's no imminent danger. That's where they are so, they exercise a power like no one can stop them. And I know that is that, my rule number 3 is to not talk to social workers, not talk to the police. It's just no. If they want to charge you with something, then go ahead and have charge it. Fight it in court. Don't let them in your home. And the only way they can come in your home or check a child is they have to have a warrant. They cannot just arbitrarily take it. There's so many cases of mothers barely having a child. One mother I was speaking with was in a county jail, and she was 8 months pregnant. She had her child in jail, and right away the CPS worker took the child. The mother had no time to breastfeed or bond with the child, and she didn't want to give up the child. She did not want to give up the child, and it's sad. It's sad. She was duped. Someone had called in a false claim that she was carrying drugs in her car. It was revenge, and someone was using CPS and the police for the things there, and she was later found not guilty, but she didn't have the money. See, a lot of these cases, they zero in on people. I don't know if you've seen international reports where some girls are traveling, a guy slips something illegal into their suitcases, and then they arrive at their destination, and it was really as a case in Thailand. And they are really, they're terrible. There are places in the world that are terrible. So it does happen. The problem is these situations are happening all the time, and CPS is taking advantage. CPS is not your friend, and rule number 3 is you do not talk to them. Do not let them in your home. Tess Young said something here. Jessica, I'm waiting for you to call in. There is no warrant in the detention report, but the police report said they had one. Interest, because I really believe they kidnapped him because CPS claimed they didn't take him on the warrant. You see, let me tell you about what they do lately. They decide that want to take the child on a weekend. So they get the warrant, the paperwork, but it's not signed by a judge. and they say they got a warrant. They tell the policeman doesn't question CPS and asks to see the warrant. But you know, as an owner of your home or whatever you have and your children, you could say, I want to see the warrant. I want to see where it specifically identifies that it says they're going to take my child away. And this is the right address, the right location. That warrant has to be explicit. It's got to give the name of the person they're investigating, if they're coming to the home, and what they're looking for, in the home address. If the warrant doesn't have the information, or it's not signed because of the weekend, judges don't work on the weekend, then don't let them in. Just say that warrant is valid and don't say anything more. One thing people have a tendency to do the same is you want to talk too much. There's a time when you need to talk and a time to not. So try to get on the form of yes, no answers. If CPS wants to come to your home and say no, don't give them a reason, don't do anything, just say no. And if they keep pressing you, you can always do the ruse that I think is great, is that I have a lawyer. Here's his number. Contact him. Or you could say, I will have a lawyer get a hold of you. And if you don't even have the lawyer hired, you can still give the name and the number, and they're probably not going to pursue it because they're not expecting people to know the law or people to know things. You really have to. So as soon as you get involved in CPS, your first step is to find 3 lawyers, 3 dependency family lawyers that have fought CPS, that won cases, and that they can have people that you can talk to them that would reference them. Then call them, interview all 3, find out how much they want, what they can do, and so forth. And right now, we have an attorney here that will talk to you free for 30 minutes an hour. That's Vincent W. Davis. And he has reached at 888-888-6582. So you have nothing to lose. Just make sure you say Bob Pace sent you. And you see, when you talk to Mr. Davis, say, Mr. Davis, Bob Pace sent me. So it's really important that rule number 1, that you get an attorney. There's no question about that. Because in my case, it was terrible what they were doing to me, using trickery and everything out. And, it's the only agency I know, Child Protection Services, that can legally steal a child. It's trial trafficking. In our own United States, we have trial trafficking. CPS, I would almost want to put at the top of the worldwide child trafficking in the world. CPS is notorious. You would not believe the thousands and thousands of children they got, and the money, at $20K a month for one child. It doesn't take $20K a month to support a child. I mean, even if he was in a hotel or a movie, I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of money they make off. And, foster care gets paid too. They have to take your child too. Not as much as CPS makes, but the CPS gives bonuses. Can you imagine a public agency saying you're going to get a bonus if you keep the children in custody of CPS? That is wrong. That's not how you teach CPS workers. No wonder they're not educated. No wonder we have the problems we have. Yes, the other flip of the coin is that there are children that are abused and neglected. There are children that are crying and the parents use the wall to shut them up, or they're taking drugs, or the drugs have been ingested by the young children. Yes, there are horror stories. There are lots of them. Hot scalding water is a punishment. Hold a child's hand in a flame stove to show them that it's hot. I mean, there's some, I'm not against protecting or neglect or abuse, but why abuse the system? Why does CPS do? There's no one controlling them. There's no accountability. They're not transparent. They're not transparent. I have one case, firsthand. My son was in foster care. He was abused in foster care. They did no protection. In fact, they bought him 100 pairs of socks because they're afraid the money was going to go. What is he going to do with 100 pairs of socks? I mean, he could get underwear. That would make sense. But socks? Oh, my God. I have a list a mile long of violation of my constitutional rights. We have a constitution, and CPS ignores it. If you look in the 14th Amendment, and no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump and the resurrection that he supposedly led in January 6th. I'm talking about the 14th Amendment that protects your rights as a parent. that protects states from getting abused. You need to look at the 14th Amendment. There's a lot in there that deals with CPS. So, it's a small part that dealt with the Donald Trump thing. And that was just a riot. I didn't see him at the head of the helm of people stomping the Capitol. This is, that's all politics. The politics every day controls our life, and they don't worry about CPS workers that have gone rogue, or the CPS system has gone rogue. I mean, stories after stories. There's a guy who loves his kids so much. His wife died in CPS's hands, and he wants to have his children and live with them. So he flew to Alaska, set up a tent in the freezing cold. A canvas tent, it's lucky it's 1/16 of an inch, or maybe 3/32 of an inch thick. That doesn't help you from the cold. And here he is. He loves his family so much that he wants to be next to them. I mean, the cases I've heard on this show are just terrible. Like, one mother was having a child, and the newborn material and all the blood was there. The social workers marched in and took the child. Where was the thinking of the hospital? Hospitals are supposed to keep people, including law enforcement and CPS, in the lobby. They don't need to be in that room. That room is private. It's by invited guests only. It's by the mother, the doctor, the nurse, and the father. I mean, usually the typical people in where a child's giving birth. But that woman she's horrified. There's so many cases of single moms that have lost their children because they have an abusive husband, or they have, um, did some things wrong, and they can work in. There's something called family. Has CPS forgot about the family? A family usually involves a mother and father of the biological child. Now, whether they're married or living together, that's not the issue there. The issue is the child needs both parents, father and mother. And if there's hiccups, then the hiccups, can be corrected. Tess Young writes is that when they took them, the police department said they had a warrant. Oh, this thing about using exercise, there's a lot of games that people play. They say this fact and this fact, they believe it's true. And that wasn't the case there. And so you need to see the warrant. You need to have that document so you can review it. It's just like when a policeman pulls you over, they ask to see your driver's license and vehicle registration. You, as an American citizen of the United States, have constitutional rights. And one of the constitutional rights is that you can address your accuser and see any paperwork that they have to show you. It's a duty. It's a constitutional rights. There's so many times our constitutional rights are being in places. I mean, right now our country's in sorry shape. Right now, I mean, it's in bad shape. Um, it's like we have millions of people in the United States because everybody in the world wants to come to the United States. Why? Well, if they really knew what was really going on here, I don't think they wouldn't have come. Because I feel that our country, the politicians are bad. I mean, we should have business people running government, not politicians. Politicians only do what the money passes their way. And, and it's all about money. When you want to run against a politician, you have no money, your chances are terrible. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of money they spend on their campaigns. I mean, I just heard today that the opponent to President Trump is spending more money than he is, and so that Nikki Haley is just anyway. I gotta stay away from politics because this is not it. But CPS is influenced by politics because we should be talking and getting representatives, senators, stuff. This is election year. People are going to be responsive. We need to make changes in CPS. CPS should be fair to all people. It should not be just the purpose of making money, and there should be checks and balances. There should be a board that supervises child protection services, supervises social. The social workers, the social thing is needed. We need food, we need medical, we need job and stuff. That's what social is supposed to do it, but they don't do it anymore. In fact, they give more benefits to a legal alien than they do to a U.S. citizen. It's been said that if U.S. citizens renounce their citizenship, go across the border and come across again, they will get food, they'll get a job, they'll get free education for their kids, they'll get, hospital, medical, and everything. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They give more benefits to us that were citizens. We're born here. If you're born here, you're Native American. Yes, we're all immigrants, and the first immigrants were the Native Indians that came over the land bridge up in Alaska, settled through Canada, North America, and then further moved south to mix with the Spanish explorers. That's where you get the cosmology of people. But they're the first immigrants. And since I'm speaking about the Native American Indian, there's something that's really important. It's the 1979 ICWA. It's the Indian Child Welfare Act. If you haven't heard about it and you're American Indian, you need to know about it because it's required that CPS investigate so they know they're dealing with Native American children. Why? Because an act was passed in '79 that says that the Indians will take care of their own, meaning that the CPS cannot take the children. They have to turn them over to the tribe, if that so wishes of the parents and the tribe would like to take care of it, because the tribe is not in there for money. They're in there. We had such cases in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. Why the act was passed? Because the number one child was taken was Indian children, and there are a lot of Indian children in California, and so that ICWA Act is very important. So if you don't know about it, look it up. The 1979 to investigate. If you tell them or they ask you, do you have any Native Indian blood? You say yes, and then they have to investigate whether they're registered or could be registered. Just because you're not registered doesn't mean you don't have Native blood. You need to prove it to them, and so forth. So it's important that we need to protect them because they're a group of immigrants that, and I hate to say they're the first immigrants that have been abused. The next group of immigrants were come over here because they were trying to escape religious prosecution and crimes and things like that. This United States was formed on immigration. People coming from outside wanting in. And I'm nothing against people from outside wanting to come in. But why can't they come in like our forefathers came in, where they became a U.S. citizen, where they learned the language of English, which is the common language of the land. They learned about history, U.S. history, learned about, the Civil War, the War of 1812. It's important they know all these things. And then the most important is the government. They need to know how the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary branches work. Right now, the judiciary branches is being used a lot. The Supreme Court's being tested. And there's a lot of issues up there. The latest one is the Alabama issue, that they are talking about making the egg, a child before it's fertilized. So there's a lot of things out there, and CPS is being, I guess, slaughtering us as people trying to have a family, trying to have things. They need to help them. They need to help them. So I agree, Badger Webb. You have to keep your language. There's certain things I can't post your comment, but I agree with you that they are really bad. They really are bad. He says they don't give. Are the kids MIA? Call the clerk and determine if there's been a warrant or reward removal order filed. Yeah, I'm glad for your comments, Badger. Tess Young, is there any more you want to ask? I'll try to help you. Jessica, you said you want to call in and be a speaker, and I'd love to have you. By the way, to call in, all you have to dial is 626-698-0990. It won't hurt you. It's really easy to talk. You'll be on speakerphone. You want to see your face, and you can talk about your cases or questions about CPS, and they will try to help you there. Again, I'm not a lawyer, And if you want free legal advice, I have an attorney that's that will talk to you. He's the best in the country, I feel, in CPS, and his name is Vincent W. Davis. And right now, he's offering a free 30-minute up to an hour of legal consultation, and he'll talk about the strategies of how to fight CPS and how to get your kids back. He is a professional family law attorney with many years of experience. He's a trial attorney. He has won cases against CPS. He has gotten the children. He got back 2 of my 3 children. And on top of that, he's fought CPS with lawsuits and won. CPS is doing things wrong. You can't sue CPS if you have an active case. Your case must be finished. Then you can sue them. I don't know about the statute of limitations on suing CPS. And sometimes I wish I had the money I could sue them because they did me wrong. They did me so wrong. And I know that if I had any attorney, he gets like 30% of what he gets. So if he gets sue him for a couple $1,000,000, he'll get 30%. I just don't have the funds right now to retain an attorney. And I know that feeling. In my case, it was the hardest thing to do. It really was. Again, if you don't want to talk and you just want to schedule a time to be on the podcast as a guest, call 888-888-6582. When you call in, tell them that Bob Pace sent you. Pick one of my 14 shows. I have morning and evening shows at 10 o'clock and 7 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. They're 1 hour long. And I'd love to have other people talk besides myself. And I'd like to answer any of your questions or concerns or anything there. So there's many ways you can act. Right now, this morning, we've been having a lot of people texting me about their issues and stuff. So yeah, the police department and CPS has taken a lot of hits, and they should. I think what's happened is that the police departments have gotten sort of, how can you say, lazy in the sense of protecting people's rights. They're also worried about getting killed themselves. I don't blame them, but there's cases like they just gone overboard, like the policeman down in Texas. They're going before a hearing today. They have to answer why they did not go. I mean, as a police officer, you are sworn to put your life on the line, and you're sworn to go in there. And I realize that life is important, but if you're going to be a police officer, you have to put your life on the line. Just like if you join the military service, you have to be expected to put your life on your line. It isn't a freebie thing or anything like that. But I know that with the cams on the police's vest, the bullet vests and stuff like that, there's more protection and things like that. I just wish they learned more skills of how to injure a person instead of knowing how to kill them. I know it. You think, oh, it saves the court time, the public money, and stuff like that. But I think everybody has rights, and everybody's mistaken. There's so many horror stories about people sent away to prison for so many years and find out they were innocent. About people that supposedly had a gun but had something that looked like a gun. I know, it's hard. I would not want to be a policeman, and I certainly would not want to be. There's other things you can do in life, and I think one of the things is trying to help people get their families back, and that's so important. The family. I want to talk a little bit about that because right now that's so important. Is that a family's got to learn when they get together to eat a dinner that they put their cell phones away. It has an answer machine. There's so many family dinners now where each person's got a cell phone out. The kids are playing the games. The parents are looking at news or looking at social media, and they're trying to eat their meal by looking at that. We're now, it's like you can watch TV and watch the war going on, stuff like that. Family time is dinner time. There's got to be time in your family to spend time with your loved ones because that is it. You do that on holidays, but you should try to spend at least one meal a day with the family. Try to go for walks and stuff like that because our families will be stronger for that. So, there's been all these cases of kids being killed in school and so forth. And it was all because they used the social internet. 2 weeks ago, all the CEOs of social network met, and they were asked by Congress, "Why don't you have any way of stopping the young people from abusing the your social media?" And it's like, I think Zuckerberg said he apologized. He's the one that owns Facebook. Elon Musk said nothing. It's the TikTok guy from China was worthless. And the thing is that it's the parents' responsibility for our kids. It's not the kids. There's this trial where the mother's now been convicted of not doing anything about her son who had mental issues, problems, who shot four innocent students, because the mother did. See, and that's where CPS would get involved because the child's under 15. Those kids were shot were under 15. So, that's where CPS is supposed to protect the kids and stuff. They don't. They don't. Where were they? Why weren't they checking on the internet? It's, the social media is fun. It's entertainment, but we should be responsible as parents until our children are 18 years or older. That's the law. That's the law of the land. Just like you have to have them go to school. They need to be in school. It's the law. And there's things that we can do so we can avoid these CPS matters as parents and have a functional family. We all dream of having a functional family. We all dream of being there. No one's perfect, including myself. And all I know is you keep trying and trying. The hard thing is when you get older, it's hard. The experience losing a job at 60 was pretty traumatic to me because I'd worked a good 40 years trying to do the best for my family. I had a beautiful home, and I'd worked hard to get that. I'd had 3 previous homes before I had that home. And it was a beautiful neighborhood. It was a private neighborhood close to the beach. And I'm sad. I'm sad about a lot of things. A lot of mistakes were made. And we're not born with a handbook of how to take children, or how to be a family, or even how to date. Dating's tough out there. Dating is really, 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 really tough. If I knew all the experiences now, I would have changed my pattern of dating early on. It's like you don't inherit that. You try to explain that to your children, but usually the children don't think too much of parents, and it's sad. It really is sad. There's it's hard because you get later in life and you have to deal with your age. And I'm 74, still looking for work. I did have a job for a while, but through no fault of my own again. No more work, they said. I think it's an excuse to say we don't want old people. I mean, right now there's a big push to have old people at age 75 recertified. Recertified as what? If we have a problem, we go see a doctor. But old people are just as good as young people. Old people are wise people. Look at the early people that wrote a lot of things, like Socrates. He was an old man. He wasn't a young man. Socrates did it. Age comes with a lot of knowledge. And if you can pass on the knowledge, the good knowledge, and help the young people, they will do good. So we really have to be close knit as a family. I've digressed a little bit, maybe not specifically exclusively about CPS, but I'm trying to make this show uh, something informative and something that you can participate and say your comments, and try to help get your kids back. Your kids are the most precious thing in the world, and I feel sorry for so many single moms, single dads, and families that are somehow got dysfunctional. And it's a lot that does with their upbringings and how we were and stuff. It's like third generation kids are suffering because their parents and their grandparents were incarcerated or in prison, or long history of drug use and stuff like that. So I've experienced a lot in life. I uh, remember going to Woodstock in '69. That tells you a lot. I remember the '60s. I remember the wars that I experienced. The Vietnam War was a horrific war, and then we had the Iraq War. There, we've had several of those, and it's really hard. But if you take care of your family is first, and your kids are your most important possessions. And you think about doing something that's illegal or wrong or harmful, then think about your kids. Think about your kids, what you may put them through and stuff. And with CPS, we need to make changes there. They need to be accountable. They need to have someone checking on them and see what they're doing. This thing about making money off the kids should not be. That money that they receive from the state or the federal should be earmarked for the kids. If there isn't any need for the money to feed them or clothe them or house them, then the leftover money should go back to the state or the federal government. Our government is so, we're $1 trillion in debt. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We give away money and we don't ask for, as a loan. And we're giving away money to Ukraine. Ukraine needs it. I don't blame them. I support that. Make it as a loan. Make everything as a loan. And whether you pay it back is one thing. But if you set up as a loan, it's a lot different. As a gift, it's hard because people are saying, well, you're giving $1 trillion to Ukraine, but you do nothing to our economy. We're ridiculous. We're paying gas that is now 4.25. It's gone up from 3.70 to 4.25. My milk right now is 4.25. The cost for a gallon of milk the same as it costs for a gallon of gas. How is that so? How is that so? We're supposed to be so rich and stuff. I mean, we've had some terrible times. Like there was a pipeline that was being built by the previous administration, and then the new administration decides disgruntled to stop the pipeline. I mean, it's like this border crisis. We wouldn't have a border crisis if we continue building that wall. A wall was started. There's all this fake news out there. The wall was started, and there was a detain of people. They should be put in special shelters and so forth. I don't mean to be anti-people, but we need to have them go through the same process like something like Ellis Island was off New York. That was where people that were immigrants came to the United States. And the problem is with that, all the social problems come in. CPS is inundated with cases because when I was at my dependency court, the hallways were filled with people that couldn't speak English, that you knew were from a different country. And I'm not talking just Mexico, I'm talking about China. I'm talking about African nations. Around the world, there's an influx of people coming here to the United States because the media, social media, it's everywhere. And yes, we have the freedom, we have the democracy, but we're going to lose all that if we don't be careful and watch these agencies. So with CPS, I feel they need when the allegations are made, it has to be in writing. When we have two kinds of people make allegations, professional and lay people. And a lot of the lay people are doing it because they're trying to do revenge against a family member, or trying to take away children, trying to alienate. And alienation is against the law. You do not alienate people. That is against the law. There's so many laws out there, and you can only see them if you investigate them, and so forth. And so, that's one thing I'd change right away in CPS is the allegations. They have to be in writing and signed. That way, people don't usually sign something or make allegations in writing or signing something because they be held accountable if they're false allegations. They can be held accountable if they're false allegations. One thing is really important too when you start your case is you start a notebook. A notebook can be on your computer, it can be a paper notebook or whatever it is, but you need to write down the date and time of each incident that's happening. Who is involved? What social worker? What policeman? What is it? You need to write all this stuff down because you won't remember it 6 months, a year, or 3 or 4 years later. So that's why you need to take notes. You need to write down what the incident was. They took my children, or they came by to inspect my home. And then you need to put the outcome. And with those things in mind on your paper, it'll become a really useful tool to help you navigate with your case because you're going to go before a judge or something. And if you want to say something or want to prove a point, you say, on such and such a date at such and such a time, 3 social workers, Mark, Betty, and Jane, came into my home and illegally took my children without a warrant, came to my home without a warrant. These are things that are valuable. So rule number 2 is a notebook. I've already told you rule number 1 is get an attorney. And I have an attorney right now that's offering free legal advice. He'll help out with the strategies and, how to negotiate against CPS and fight them and get your children back because CPS does steal children and they do it legally. It's the only child trafficking in the United States that is legal, is what CPS does. CPS is a leader in child trafficking. And I know this because based on my experiences and the experience of over 100 some other people in different parts of the country. I don't care if you're in Tucson, Arizona, or Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, or Houston, Texas, or Maryland. These are cases that I know firsthand. Yes, It may not be the majority out there. Right now, there are a lot of bad cases out there. We hear them all the time. Sensational news is is out there openly. No one's interested in hearing about the Boy Scout that walked a little old lady across the street. They want to hear sensational news. They want to hear about sex. It's really amazing. And most of the news out there, I hate to say, is fake. Anybody can put a YouTube video like I'm doing on a podcast and speak their mind. And we have that freedom in the United States to speak our mind. No one is censoring me. These are feelings from my gut and my feelings for my kids and family and for all of you that are listening. So, call in, get that attorney, Mr. Davis. Speak to him for 30 minutes or an hour. It's free. Call 888-888-6582 and ask to speak to, actually set up a time with Mr. Davis and tell them Bob Pace sent you. It's important so they give you the free consultation because consultations are not free. They're not free. He's not a free lawyer, but he is a very fair lawyer and he's worth every penny. And his retainer fee is based on the complexity of your case, how long the case has been going on, and where it's located. So it's going to be more for him to fight a case in Rochester, New York, than in Southern California, LA, California. So it's only because logistically, he has to fly there. He has the housing to deal with, the car rental, and those kinds of things. So that's why it costs more. And I realize you may not have that kind of money. And I had to sell my home to get the money. And I lost my home because of CPS. I was prohibited trying to get work when I was involved in CPS. They did everything to try to help me. They didn't want to help me. They didn't want to say, hey, look, we know you lost your mom and dad. You have their parents' belongings. We'll help pay the storage fees so you can put your stuff in storage if it's that danger to your kids. They could have done things to help. Like they could have brought over, I didn't have money to pay the landscaper to trim the yard, and they said the yard was overgrown. It wasn't overgrown. It needed trim like your hair does. If your hair is, allowed to go wild, it's going to go wild. So they didn't offer that. My gate was loose, and the code enforcement, they're looking for anything to disqualify me as a human being. The firemen were out there measuring my smoke alarms with tape measure to see if they're at the right installation. The code enforcement were checking to see if there's locks on the back doors of the pool, lock around the pool. Yes, I had all those in place. They were looking for trouble. They wanted to make trouble. The code enforcement and firemen and social workers and the police were working against me. They weren't concerned about families. And I could say that. And, they're wrong. And if I had millions of dollars, I could sue them because what they did was illegally. And a lot of you are in that similar situation. I know a lot of you write in and tell me that. So, as Badger Wise says, they don't care about you as a person. All they care about is their bonus money. Their bonus money. And CPS is loaded to the hilt with bonus money. They want to use this as child trafficking legally. And they use ruses like, oh, it's extreme conditions. We have to take your child. How is boxes or furniture extreme conditions to the children? Are the boxes going to fly up to the rooms? They each had their own room. Are furniture going to walk on its legs up the stairs to get to them? I mean, get real. It is chaotic. I agree. I agree. And it's one of those things that lucky I live near a beach. You can go for a walk and think and so forth. And I still try to get my water time so my gills don't dry up. And I'm talking about surfing. I still follow surfing, and I watch a young boy that I remember at 7 or 8 right now at 52 years old doing remarkable things. He was doing something in Sunset the other day. I had spent 25 years of my life traveling in a bag and going to exotic places. And yesterday he performed a maneuver that was unreal. He was doing something, he had air on his maneuver. He's 52 years old. So that gives me hope that I can still be forever young and stuff. And you need to keep fighting for your kids and call in for that attorney. And I'm going to see you tonight because my time has run up. I'm sorry that I think it was Jessica didn't call in, but please call 888-888-6582. Schedule a time to be on my show. Badger, thank you for your comments. Tess Young, thank you for your comments there. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen and to write your comments. I hope to see you again. And I hope I was able to give you some advice. Remember those 3 rules: get an attorney, have a notebook, and do not let social services in your home. Do not let the police in your home. Don't say anything but no or yes to them. Try not to talk too much. It'll hurt you because there will be a trial. And when you go to the trial, you got to, be careful what you say because it'll come back to harm you. So with that said, this is Bob Pace wishing you all the best and success and happiness in the new year. Keep fighting for your kids. You will get them back. Don't give up. And God bless you all. And I'll see you this evening. Bob Pace signing off.